Hey everybody, and welcome back to a small channel update. Now, you may be wondering why there's been such a long delay in releasing a new episode, and unfortunately, it's because the YouTube gods decided that my latest episode would be pulled down and my channel given a strike for medical misinformation. Now, as many of you know, I do my utmost to provide evidence for anything that I say on this channel or my guests have said on this channel to provide some kind of rationale around it. But, you know, I did appeal. And as anyone with a channel knows, they don't tell you what the egregious segment is, so you cannot properly defend yourself or provide adequate evidence as to what the rationale was behind said segment. And I refuse to edit the conversation to take out anything in relation to our overall chat, as you probably guessed by now. I'm a firm believer in free speech, and by editing off our conversation, I put either what I say or what Vera says in a completely different light, as you lose some of the context. The episode for me, however, is one of the most important ones that I've recorded to date, hence why I'm doing a follow-up video. It was with a survivor of the Holocaust and someone who spent pretty much the rest of her life after that moment as a medical activist, Vera Sharav, an amazing human being who's helped to bring to light a lot of the fraud, the negligence, and otherwise criminal behavior that's been committed in the pharmaceutical industry over decades, from her work on the antidepressants to the HIV and AIDS trials on children to what amounts to other illegal experimentation on children. Her body of work in the things that she has exposed, it speaks for itself, and I'll link down below to her website as the first link, as well as other places that you can still watch the episode. I'll also give you a brief rundown of what's in it, and if it tickles your pickle, please check out one of the links below, either to the Spotify or to Rumble, where it's not been taken down and been allowed to continue as is. So the topics that we talk on are issues within the media as it pertains to what's happened and what's happening in the last couple of years, her history as well. Obviously, the journey through the concentration camps from 3 to 6 upon being freed, and some of the horrors that she saw even in the process of being freed, on disobeying authority and transhumanism. Anyone familiar with this channel is familiar with what transhumanism is. And myself and Vera talk a little bit about that, whether it's implanting microchips or something further to it. And the parallels of what happened in the 1930s to what then occurred during the pandemic years in the othering of people, in health passports and things like this. And that if I was to say it on my own, I wholeheartedly accept people to write it off as the ramblings of a crazy kook with a tinfoil hat. However, this is someone who lived through that period. So, of course, not the 1930s themselves, but through the Holocaust. She was in a concentration camp. This is someone who is very, very familiar with how this all went. And then we spoke about the utilization of propaganda to instill fear and engineer compliance and gaining control. As I think we all know by now that's exactly what happened during those years. As more and more information comes out that a certain medical intervention isn't effective and it's not safe, and you can still catch particular things associated with said intervention, and how and what we can do to disobey these overlords over the top of us. And we then spoke about how they can control your finances and take your freedoms, as we saw with the truckers protest, as we saw with PayPal doing recently as well. We also spoke about the parallels in Germany to T4, actually on T4. That's something that I think is better that Vera explores further, rather than going into it here and now. And then the state of medicine today, the atrocity of centralized medicine, whereby medicine now is practiced on a population level, essentially, instead of on the individual level. And it's harder to find doctors who are willing to look at the situation in front of themselves and assess the individual, rather than just following a protocol, which I'm working in the medical industry myself, and I have had to multiple times push against doctors running by protocols for my patients in physical therapy. And it baffles me that people refuse to look at the individual in front of them and just look at population-wide statistics and say, right, the odds are no, so I'm not going to bother. We also talk about who is the they that's pulling the strings. We talk about the energy crisis that's now confronting all of us, media culpability, and all of the above and further. We talk about the childhood schedule where said medical intervention has now been approved. And the day after said approval, the price of said medical intervention had quadrupled in price. To anyone that doesn't know, something that we cover in the podcast as well, in the episode, once something is on the childhood vaccine schedule in the US, no US citizen can sue the manufacturer for liability for damages that may occur. And yeah, once that goes, then it's almost mandated in some states that it has to be taken for the children. So as a result of which, almost mandated, as a result of which, Pfizer can decide to vastly increase their profit margins on that. We talk about how Western countries are targeted, something that I had never considered, in the sense that as we look at it all from a step back, we see that the biggest countries that are affected with said intervention were the Western countries, and the countries now suffering with decreases in birth rates and increases in neurological issues, and further are all the Western countries that utilize said intervention. And then we spoke about times where these kinds of crazy things have happened before, in terms of people not wanting to accept that there are people with nefarious intentions. We spoke about Operation Paperclip, where Nazi soldiers were or Nazi scientists rather, were taken over to allied countries in order to further their scientific endeavors. We spoke about their population control ideologies, Malthusianism, and the like. And something for me that sticks really from what Vera said, that no one is coming to save you this time. She said that when she was in the camps, people were coming to save them. This time, no one's coming to save you, and you have to save yourself. I'll put in a little bit at the end, maybe. And then we spoke about the green agenda as a way to further manipulate people with fear-based propaganda. And again, if you saw the previous episode with Senator Malcolm Roberts, you'll know just how much manipulation there is of said data. So look, that is in the smallest nutshell that I can give, really, the ins and outs of the episode. If anything there tickled your fancy, by all means check it out in the links below. And yeah, guys, look, thank you for watching, and I appreciate your support up to this point. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that good YouTube shilling stuff. But yeah, speak to you soon, and have a good one.
How long will you gamble with your body and with your children's bodies? That's what you're doing. It's a gamble you're taking, but you don't realize they have a stacked deck. They know what their end game is, and you don't believe that that could be possible because it's so evil. One of the main problems, and it was then too, people, including the Jews, did not believe that Hitler meant what he said. They did not believe that there would be genocide until it was too late. Until it was too late. You know, we're on a precipice, and either people will, you know, come together and be a force against the continuity. You know, the continuity of this will only lead to total destruction, and there will be no rescuers. People, those of us who survived the Holocaust, everyone, we were rescued in one way or another. There will be no rescuers this time. It's right now, before it's too late, is when it behooves people to say, enough, get off the couch, get off the, you know, being just a passive
member.
You can't be passive.